These two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
Emilio Pagan, who's got a really good arm, coming back with a couple years of control, and Paddack in the rotation. You know, I can understand the deal from the Twins' perspective. Now you got a starter and a reliever for your closer. Remember, they played last year without Rogers, who had that injured tendon in his finger. But I guess the question is, who now becomes the closer in Minnesota? And, you know, Rogers stepping in. I'll tell you, San Diego, give A.J. Preller credit, man. He doesn't stop. He is talking and talking and talking, trying to improve his team marginally and even on the margins a little bit any way he can. So interesting trade.
Reckless speculation.
Yes, welcome to Reckless Speculation Thursday here on Mackey and Judd. To all who celebrate, Doogie from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department is joining us, and we were going to speculate on what the rest of this Twins trade could be, but it comes down officially as we go live here, a rare live edition of Mackey and Judd on the Score North YouTube channel. So, gentlemen, the Twins aren't playing on opening day, but they are making more moves. What's going on, folks?
Good morning, gentlemen. Happy
Judd, hold on. Judd, unmute
Thursday.
your microphone so you can chime
Judd
in
has
here.
no idea.
I'm a mess today.
What is happening right now?
Yeah, Judd has no idea. Before we went live, there was a
today.
technical difficulty in the Zolgad household.
Yeah, shocks
Shockingly,
everyone.
he now has his mic muted. He'll figure it out at some point. But good morning, Phil.
Oh.
Good morning, Declan. If Judd can hear me, good morning, Judd.
Hi,
Happy
Doogie,
Reckless
I can,
Speculation
yes.
Thursday. Happy Frozen 4 Thursday. Happy Masters Thursday. Yes, so much to get into.
So what I was going to say was, before I was so rudely interrupted by my mute button, what I was going to expound on was you guys and your reckless speculation. You guys are always making up these crazy trades, these things that are never going to happen. You know, the Twins aren't trading their closer on opening day of the baseball season. There's no way, right? Like, why do you guys even hold on a second. This is what I love about sports.
It is. If you embrace the reckless speculation lifestyle, I think you're never surprised when big moves go down. So here's what it is. Heading to the Padres, Taylor Rogers, who makes $7.3 million this season and is a free agent after the season is over. He's 31 years old. I always get the feeling that his arm is about to fall off, too. So, I mean, like any pitcher's arm could fall off. But 1 year of Taylor Rogers going to the Padres. Brent Rooker also going to the Padres. And then coming back to the Twins, Chris Paddack, who at one point, like 3 years ago, was a top 35 Baseball America prospect who was lights out in his first season from Double-A in 2019. So he's under team control for 3 seasons, starting in 2022. He's sputtered a little bit the last couple of years, but major upside. You get him for 3 years. He's 26 years old. He slots into your rotation. And then Emilio Pagan is the other piece here. These guys combined, by the way, make about $5 million. And Pagan is under club control through this year and next year. He was the Rays closer in 2019 for a stretch, saved 20 games, sputtered a little bit in September last year. He was actually pretty lights out through the first 5 months of the season last year. So I love this trade. Brent Rooker is he's going to be 27 years old. He's just kind of a guy, like, big college bat, but it hasn't come to fruition yet. He's kind of positionless. And Taylor Rogers is awesome, but he's a free agent, and it's easier to patchwork the back of a bullpen than to find top caliber, high upside arms. So I think this caps, maybe not caps, because there's other moves that probably need to be made for the Twins to really be true World Series contenders, but this has been a really good offseason, I think, for Derek Falvey. Dukes, what do you think about this trade?
It's been a really entertaining offseason. Heck, it's been a really entertaining 4 weeks, right? Think about all the moves since March 7th or March 8th. Yes, Phil, on the surface, moving a reliever that's a free agent in the winter, plus really a DH, with all due respect to Brent Rooker.
Yeah.
And you know what? Maybe San Diego can get him some at-bats as a DH, but I just don't see him being any sort of positive in the outfield. So to me, he is a DH. Now, I could argue, if I'm the Twins, I keep Rooker over Kyle Garlick, plus the Twins now need to make a 40-man roster move to add Garlick to the roster, but that's fine. For a second straight year, they choose Garlick. So that's fine. You send Rooker out because you decided he wasn't going to make the team, plus this reliever with 1 year of control for a starting pitcher with 3 years of control. and a reliever with 2 years of control, yes, on the surface, it makes all sorts of sense. The Twins will also send some money San Diego's way to even things out money-wise.
Yeah, so the rotation now is, I mean, this is probably going to change, and not all these guys are stretched out to the degree that they might be in a month or two, but Joe Ryan, Sonny Gray, Chris Paddack, Dylan Bundy, Chris Archer, and then I'm guessing Bailey Ober moves to the bullpen for now, or maybe they go like 6-man rotation.
Well, yeah,
or something.
I mean, I wonder if, and Derek Falvey is supposed to do a Zoom, Judd, to answer your question. I think it was more off mic, not on mic, but we should have some availability with Falvey at some point today via Zoom, not in person. So that question will come up. I guess I would not be shocked, at least early this season, if we do see a 6-man rotation. On Paddack, back in September, he received a stem cell injection, slightly torn UCL. Now, he's performed okay, going back the last few weeks. The Twins did have a scout, in fact, multiple scouts in Arizona, monitoring him and others, including Montes, Minaya, some others in Arizona. But the Twins had at least one scout watching Paddack throw going back the last handful of days. The velo, I was told, was 94, 95. So all seems okay. But I think there needs to be a little bit of trepidation just saying, okay, Paddack, go ahead and throw us 85, 90 pitches next Monday or Tuesday. So I'm just saying, we'll find out later today, Phil. Yeah, eventually 5-man rotation makes sense. Move somebody to the bullpen. But for the time being, I guess I would not be shocked if it's a 6-man rotation.
This is definitely a gamble on the Twin side, because what you just said, Dukes, is incredibly important. Like, you don't like the ulnar collateral ligament is not just hopefully it's fine. But what this is, boys, is hysterically funny because when you consider what the Vikings are doing, this is literally what you would call this type of trade a competitive rebuild, because you're trading a closer who is good, but you almost traded him and tried to before he got hurt at the deadline last year. The key to this trade to me from the Rodgers standpoint is not, this guy's so good, how can you trade him? He's going to be, or he was going to be, an important part of your team. The key to this trade is his contract, right? Because his contract, and we'll get to this in a second, Dukes, but I think an important question that I have not seen reported on yet that I think comes back to being an important part of this discussion is, was Rodgers at least engaged by the Twins to get a feel for, can we sign you long term? But all of that being said, this is somewhat of a gamble on the Twins' part, but you get 2 pitchers, including a starter, under team control. You get a guy out of the bullpen who can throw hard, who, like Paddack in 2019, was good. If this works, great. And the Rooker thing, I know that it came out, I think there were rumors last night, it might be Larnach. Okay, I'm out there. I'm probably not going to trade him. But if it's Rooker and Rodgers is your biggest loss of those two. And it's very important to point out, there was a chance, right or wrong, that the team thought we probably can't re-sign him. So let's try and maximize his value right now. But it is literally the definition of what a competitive rebuild is, which is trying to retool but still compete at the same time.
I agree with that. I will answer your question, Judd. The Twins never engaged Rodgers' camp in any sort of extension talks.
Yeah,
there was not interest shown in signing him to a long-term deal. In fact, if he doesn't get hurt last July 26th, something like that, a handful of days before the trade deadline, they were going to trade him. Like 95% certainty he was going to move July 30th or July 31st of last year if he doesn't hurt the finger a few days prior. But I'm just telling you, no. The answer is no. The Twins never had any interest in extending Taylor Rodgers. Now, for Rodgers, I think this is a pretty good move. San Diego can use a lefty reliever. San Diego needs a closer. So for Rodgers, as he hits unrestricted free agency in November, I think for him to monetize the situation to the best that he can, being in San Diego is a better opportunity than being here.
So, and let's get into kind of what the Twins bullpen looks like after Taylor Rodgers here in a second. But just to put a bow on the UCL partial tear thing, the initial, I'm just going back. So did he get Tommy John? He had a UCL tear in like 2016. So has Paddack already had one Tommy John? I know I'm putting you guys on the spot here. If you don't know, that's okay.
I'm Googling. I'm attempting to multitask, which is always dangerous.
And then and I always get nervous about the partial UCL tear, and you try to rehab. But I know that there's some different treatments now that maybe didn't exist 10 years ago.
Yes.
So I'm sure, if it was
2016,
he had surgery.
Okay, so he might be, maybe he's headed for his second Tommy John for all we know here, which would be just classic
that's a slippery
Twins bad
slope.
luck.
Yeah, Tommy John surgery in 2016. Yeah.
So I think a guy like Paddack, who again was 3 or 4 years ago, he was one of the top pitching prospects in all of baseball. He comes out rookie season from Double-A, he's lights out, and he sputtered for a couple years. But like, you don't just get him and another good reliever for a year of Taylor Rogers and a throw-in like Brent Rooker, unless there's something on, like it's sort of a buy as is price tag here. And so I think that's the thing to watch, right?
It is.
How does his elbow feel?
This is more fitting for reckless speculation Thursday. I hope this doesn't get aggregated. But having a few conversations this morning with people in the know, one person suggested to me a big reason why these Mets-Padres talks fell apart a week or so ago, where Hosmer was going to go to New York, Paddack was going to go to New York, an outfielder was going to go to San Diego, that New York had all sorts of questions about Paddack's medical situation.
Yeah.
That was a big reason why the Mets decided to back out of those talks.
It's interesting. It's very interesting. By the way, Eno Saris, who's a friend of Score North, and he does a lot of baseball analytics writing for The Athletic.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
So this is you want some meat and potatoes. You want a scouting
Hit me.
breakdown of Chris Paddack here. I'm going to read this tweet that he sent out this morning. All right. He says, Chris Paddack has a good changeup, and by pitching plus, pushed his curveball to an average pitch last year. By doing so, he cost his fastball some ride, and that pitch slipped below average, but that's where the upside is. If he can get the ride back on his fastball, it could still click. That's right.
Well, let me add one more thing to that equation. I had somebody this morning tell me that if you had to rank in terms of analytics, Major League Baseball organizations, the Padres would be near the bottom, certainly bottom third. That there is a thought, both Paddack and Pagan coming here, the Twins are more analytically inclined than San Diego, that both these pitchers feel like they can have more success here than they had in San Diego because of that.
Is that a Wes Johnson thing too?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, he was using analytics at Arkansas, yeah.
Exactly right. But I mean,
But they have Josh Kalk. Yeah, I mean, there's multiple fingerprints all over the Twins pitching analytics. But yeah, certainly Wes Johnson leads the charge.
Right, because I think when we left off after 2020, Wes was seen also as a guy that could mold guys. Like 2021 obviously did not go well. So do we think that this knocks Ober out, or do we think that this is also a safeguard? Because I'm going to tell you flat out, I do not trust Dylan Bundy. Like, I think that's a flat out just a flyer gamble. 2 years ago in the pandemic shortened season, he was good, but then he fell apart. And like that, it might turn out. It might work. I don't know. But I saw that move as a definite hold your breath and hope that you can make some alterations there and turn his career around. So I wonder if this actually goes after a guy like that a bit more, because if Paddack's arm holds up and shoulder, I think that you have more of a chance that he's going to have a very positive impact on your rotation than a flyer guy like Dylan Bundy.
Well, I mean, the velocity with Bundy worries me, right? That
Yeah.
he doesn't throw much beyond 89, 90, 91. Judd, I'm just telling you, I would not be shocked if it's a six-man rotation initially. You know, I wonder if at some point, though, does Ober move to the bullpen? Do they send Josh Winder to St. Paul? Now, Winder looked good in Fort Myers, but he's only made how many AAA starts? Declan, maybe you can look this up. Sorry to put you to work. 4? 5?
Okay,
Now, he's
Declan's busy
25.
watching Tiger knock in par putts on the first
thank
hole.
you.
of
I know.
Masters.
He's
Yeah.
chipping.
By the way, he hit the
right
he hit
now.
the fairway on the first drive. I don't know why you were
He did?
freaking
There's
out.
too much
he
going
was
on
he was
right now.
Yeah.
I agree.
He's gonna,
All right,
he's gonna
I'll
make
do
the
my
cut.
job
Just
now.
write that down, okay? Just
I
write that.
apologize. The point
Damn
is,
it, write that
Winder
down.
has barely made, and he starts at AAA,
Right.
even though he's 25, so he's not young. But, like, could you send Winder to St. Paul for a little bit more seasoning? Figuring Winder, I think, has a good chance to be in this rotation before the season is over.
I'm going to step in here, Judd, and I'm going to fight you and defend Dylan Bundy's honor for a second here because look at us right now. We went from talking Twins like 2.5 times in 7 months to now I'm going to spend a chunk
All right.
defending
All right.
Dylan Bundy's
Let's hear
honor.
you
Okay?
defend the garbage heap signings.
So the wow, look at it. So the Baltimore
What's
Orioles.
at the garage sale, Marge? Hey, I got a Dylan Bundy, real cheap.
No, the Baltimore Orioles about 10 years ago, they went out and they spent first-round picks. They had one of the best young stables of arms. So Dylan Bundy's a former number 4 overall pick by the Orioles back in 2011. Kevin Gausman was a first-round pick, 4th overall the next year by the Orioles, 2012. The Orioles were so bad with young pitchers. And you could put Jake Arrieta in this mix, too. He was drafted, I think he was drafted by the Orioles, but he was a young pitcher in the Orioles system, was kind of a train wreck. Then he has to go elsewhere to finally, click. I don't know what they were or weren't doing, but they wasted so many great young arms, and it takes a while to undo that Orioles wiring. So Kevin Gausman goes to San Francisco. He bounced around from Baltimore to a couple other teams, goes to San Francisco. In the last 2 years, Gausman's been one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. It finally clicked at age 29, 30.
I was hoping the Twins were going to sign him in the winter. They weren't really engaged. He got big money from Toronto. Going back to the 2012 draft, the Twins actually liked Gausman a lot, Phil. Like, if they had the 3rd pick and Buxton and Correa were off the board, Gausman, not Mike Zunino, probably would have been their pick.
Yeah.
Now, remember, they had pick 2. Correa goes 1. They take Buxton. If they had pick 1, it would have been close between Correa and Buxton. They loved Correa. If Houston had gone Buxton number 1, the Twins 100% would have taken Correa number 2.
Yeah, and so Gausman just had to get out of the Orioles ecosystem, just shake it off for a couple years, get with a real pitching organization, which San Francisco is, and boom, he realizes his upside. He's a Cy Young candidate. And Dylan Bundy, the minute he steps foot outside that train wreck Orioles organization, he's 9th in Cy Young voting. I get it's a pandemic year in 2020, and it was only 11 starts, but he was strikeout rate was up, walk rate was down. Like he was pitching the best he ever has. Now last year, I can't explain that. I can't really defend why he was terrible last year. But all I'm saying is Baltimore butchered young arms, and just getting them out and getting them into a different system. You might see I love taking a gamble on a former number 4 overall pick here, so I don't call that quite a garbage heap signing. It's not like a Kevin Correa type
garbage
signing.
heap signing.
I don't mind the
to
gamble.
term it that way. I think
you
is
stop the
overdoing
Dylan Bundy slander, Judd Zulgad.
I don't mind the gamble. What I'm saying is I prefer to get a real pitcher.
They tried to some extent. I mean,
they got Sonny
made
Gray.
Greinke an offer.
No,
they were willing to pay Kikuchi $336.
You're not hearing me right.
He wasn't coming here for
I like the
$336.
Paddack
They tried.
acquisition more than Dylan Bundy.
So how
And I
would you
like
have filled
Oprah.
out their 5 rotation spots? I mean, listen. We
Previously
all
or
agree
what?
trade for Frankie Montas. I think does anyone not want to trade for Frankie Montas?
Well, and
So we all
I don't
agree there.
think, put it this way, Phil, like them acquiring Paddack doesn't stop their interest in Montas. In fact, he made a simulated start over the weekend. I'm told the Twins had a scout there on a backfield watching Montas.
I will bump Dylan Bundy from the rotation for Frankie Montas. That is
Correct.
where
I mean, the
that is
Twins
where I
have
do not
done-
die on the hill.
Yeah, the Twins have done a lot of homework on Montas. When, not if. I firmly believe this, Phil. It's when, not if at this point, right? Like when the A's trade Minaya a few days ago, when they move Olsen, when they move Chapman, it's when, not if,
Yeah.
that they are going to move Montas, that when that time comes, whether it's May, June, July, the trade deadline is August 2nd, so maybe it's August 1st. Maybe it's the morning of August 2nd, but whenever that time comes, I firmly believe it'll come this year, the Twins will be heavily involved.
And we discussed this, I think, 2 or 3 days back, and I still think it's very, very true for anyone that's concerned about. But the bullpen, Rogers, but the bullpen, I would far rather be faced with trying to make changes in the bullpen on the fly than the rotation. So like this is, yes, this is a loss. I'm not trying to say who cares. But that being said, if my choices are, well, I've got a rotation that is okay, but I don't love it, or okay, now I'm going to have to make some changes in the bullpen. I think bullpens can evolve and change and be absolutely fine.
It's so much easier.
Rotations, I much prefer stability. And this at least takes another step towards, as opening day approaches on Friday, providing rotation stability.
100%. To me, so many relievers are cyclical, right? So, yes, there's actually still some free agents out there that I think can contribute. I'm not suggesting, they're Taylor Rogers-esque, but like Brandon Kinsler is a free agent right now. I'm told he threw for a couple teams the other day. Not the Twins, but he is out there. There's some other guys. Plus, June, July. Judd, you can trade for a reliever relatively easily. Plus, does Pagan recapture some of that 19 and 20 magic? Phil, you mentioned it. I mean, he did close for the Rays in 19 for a decent stretch. He was pretty darn good for the Padres in 20, including 5 playoff appearances for the Padres in 20, 0 earned runs. He was good for a decent stretch of last year,
First 5 months.
Outside of a 9-game stretch at the end of the season. I will add on Emilio Pagan, he has picked up a splitter. He learned it from Kirby Yates. He has a good relationship with Kirby Yates. The splitter, in his mind, has been really, really good this spring. That Pagan feels like that splitter will help him elevate his strikeout totals this year.
Yes. Okay,
let me add one note on Pagan, by the way. Here's another note on Pagan. So I'm told the Tampa Bay Rays had interest in reacquiring him, that the Padres and Rays had some trade dialogue. The Rays were trying to make a move for Emilio Pagan. We know how smart that Rays front office is. So that can tell you, if the Rays wanted Pagan back, the Twins might have done something right there. One hesitation for the Rays. I'll let you read between the lines. One hesitation for the Rays. They have 8 or 9 games in Toronto, right? Same division, American League East. Let's just say Emilio Pagan right now is not eligible to pitch in Toronto.
Yeah, and that's not what the Twins play 3 games in Toronto.
Oh, I wouldn't worry. Yeah, from a Twin standpoint, no big deal.
I'm
and
just
by the
past
way,
the whole
character,
thing
I checked with somebody who was in San Diego. Let's just say these 2 guys, Paddack and Pagan, high character guys.
That's a theme. We're going to get into some of that in the second half of the show here. I know Judd's got a lot of thoughts on sort of clubhouse chemistry that we'll get to.
Well, Donaldson being gone is a big deal.
We got to talk more about what the bullpen looks like here, but I think it would be prudent for all sides here if maybe they took 1 or 2 of these new pitching acquisitions to Mayo Clinic Square just to make sure everything is checked out okay? So Mayo Clinic, obviously the clinic in Rochester, world-renowned, but they also have the clinic in downtown Minneapolis right across from Target Center, and they are accepting new patients, men of all ages, for any men's-related issues, cancer screenings, treatment. Go get checked and go make sure that you are ready and rocking for this baseball season or just for your summer. Request an appointment at menshealth.mayoclinic.org. That's menshealth.mayoclinic.org. Also, a shout-out to our friends at Chill Boys. I know that the long underwear is probably going to come in play for Dex at opening day tomorrow.
Damn right.
Still a little bit chilly. So, if you're looking for the most comfortable underwear in the world and you're looking to replace all your old underwear and boxer briefs like we basically have with Chill Boys and Bamboo Fabric and Athletic Fit, they're a Minnesota-based company. You can find them online at chillboys.com. Tell them Score North and or Purple Daily sent you. So, the biggest question a lot of people have is, well, now who's going to close games? And that's a question. I think the better question is, who is the firefighter reliever? Like Taylor Rogers was not really the closer. He was the firefighter reliever. He might come in a tie game in the 7th last year. I think he had like 9 saves. But who's that guy? And then who's closing games? And they're going to have to figure it out in April. Tyler Duffy, I think Jorge Alcala could actually wind up getting some major late inning run at some point. Duran, Joe Smith has late inning experience. I'm worried about the lefties a little bit because Caleb Thielbar was wonderful, but I mean, at some point, does he turn into a pumpkin? And then Danny Columbe, is it Columbe? How do you pronounce Danny's last name? But he will be the other lefty in the pen, it sounds like. So,
I think it'll be matchup driven. I'm a big fan of Duffy's.
Colombe,
he is in a contract year. Now, that can go the other way, right? Dylan Bundy was in a contract year last year. He went belly up, but oftentimes guys are motivated as they're approaching unrestricted free agency. The Twins have not approached Duffy, by the way, about any sort of extension. But to me, like, I'd have no problem Duffy getting those key outs. He's gotten enough key outs going back years, but I'd have no problem. But I think it'll be matchup driven. I think Alcala absolutely will get some opportunities. Duran will get some opportunities as well with that 102-mile-per-hour fastball.
The great part, boys, is this. Twins trade today, but the reckless speculation doesn't just end with Twins. On the Vikings, Dukes, we talked...
Reckless speculation.
We talked draft a little bit on Tuesday, but tell me what you are hearing about, because I think right now the expectation of the masses is that the Vikings, who went defense in free agency, are going to do the same in the draft. But as it approaches, what are you hearing about the first round pick and the potential that the Vikings actually pivot and don't go defense?
Yeah, I mean, if they go offense, I won't be shocked, Judd. I mean, I think these are all contingency plans they are discussing right now in Egan. Like, I don't think we can sit here with 100% certainty on April 7th and say on April 28th, the Vikings, so I guess it would be 3 weeks from today, the first round of the draft. I think it would be moronic of us to sit here 3 weeks out and say 100% the Vikings are taking a pass rusher or a cornerback at pick 12. Among those contingency plans is something we discussed on Tuesday that I was told the Vikings are open-minded to moving down, but that'll come down to how the board shakes out. But I would not necessarily rule out wide receiver. I've heard the Drake London interest. I've heard the Garrett Wilson interest. Not as much Chris Olave, the speedster from Ohio State, more Wilson, more London, that if one or both are staring them in the face at pick 12, and let's say Derek Stingley Jr., the cornerback from LSU, is off the board, you know, a pass rusher maybe they like is off the board, like Walker from Georgia, that I'm just saying right now, like, I can't rule out that possibility, them going wide receiver in the first round.
That's so interesting. That is so interesting.
Well, I mean, if you look
it.
at the Adam Thielen contract,
I kind of love it.
Are we even sure Thielen is here in 23?
No.
That's but Doogie, you just hit it. That's the thing is, and again, competitive rebuild, right? Which is, can we find Thielen's replacement in this draft? Because you're not going QB, and you probably are in 23. So like these are all the sort of intricate chess games that are going to be played. But I think you're right. I think that there's a very good chance they're going to try to find Thielen's replacement potentially in the first round this April with Thielen still here.
It's tough because
not,
you.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
if it's
dude.
not in the first round, like, I would bet. Now they have a bunch of picks, right? So it's not like I'm going out on a limb saying this, but like, I'm positive they are going to take a wide receiver. They just had a few wide receivers in town this week for visits. They had a wide receiver from Nevada. They had a wide receiver from SMU, Gray last name, Tay Martin from Oklahoma State. Made it to town and then food poisoning. So the visit actually didn't take place, but those were at least 3 wide receivers, more so middle round or late round guys. But, you know, them having multiple wide receivers in town this week, like, I'm reading between the lines on that. Like, I'm pretty sure they are going to take a wide receiver at some point.
Yeah. It's fascinating because, like, if you're just trying to win as big as you can in 2022, receiver isn't really an immediate need because you have 3 guys that you really trust plus Smith Marset, but I think you should be in best player available mode, and you should be looking at a 3 to 5 year window. So we'll see what they do. By the way,
they can be. Why can't they be in best player available mode?
Yeah.
It's not like they 100% need a pass rusher or 100% at this point need a cornerback. Now, I get it when you look at the landscape of the 2023 roster, the cornerback position, but we just saw it. There's still some cornerbacks out there. Gilmore's still out there, right? And there's always a way, even though they keep kicking the can down the road on so many of these contracts, there's always a way to create some cap space. If they need to go sign a cornerback or two this time next year, they can always do that. So, like, I don't think we should be married to this idea that they have to go cornerback in the first round. Like, they can go best player available, and if Garrett Wilson of Ohio State falls, like, maybe you just gobble him up.
And Stingley's almost certainly gone now because his pro day time was so good that I think the expectation now is both Sauce Gardner and Stingley will be gone by 12.
Yeah, but there's going to be a good player sitting there at 12, right? Like, we keep saying, yeah, I think this guy is going to go before pick 12. Like, I had somebody yesterday try to sell me on Drake London, the USC wide receiver, who has his pro day in a few days. The Vikings will have a presence there in Southern California. Let's see how he does at his pro day in a few days. But like I had somebody suggest, Drake London isn't going to be on the board at 12.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, I've had all these people tell me, this guy's not going to be on the board at 12. This guy's not going to be on the board at 12. There's only 11 guys that will go before pick 12. So I've heard like 30 guys won't be on the board.
It'd be mathematically difficult for all those guys. Where'd all these guys go? It's crazy.
Correct.
Oh, the Lions picked 7 players. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, let me add one Vikings note before we transition maybe to the Wolves, that on kicking the can down the road, the Chris Reed contract has been filed. And no void years. No void years on the Chris Reed contract. 2-year deal.
Shocking.
They resisted the urge.
This year, 175. The cap hit does go up in 2023 slightly, but the cap hit for this season, $1.75 million.
That's a good signing. It's a very good signing. Just
I think
be
right
average
now,
at guard. Just
yeah,
be average.
He is the betting favorite, at least in my mind, to be the starter at right guard. Now, Cole Strange, a guard from Tennessee Chattanooga, was in town this week for a visit. There's a lot of steam on Strange, so like, could they potentially pull the trigger on Strange in round 2?
Yeah.
Like, let's see what takes place in that regard. But right now, Chris Reed, former Mankato State football player, teammate with Adam Thielen, Minnesota State Mankato, I would make Chris Reed, not anybody else, I would make Chris Reed the betting favorite, not Jesse Davis. I would make Chris Reed the favorite to start at right guard.
A couple things before we get into Doogie's rapid-fire scoops. We can leave with Wolves in that. The cheap poll ads are picking up $6.6 million of Taylor Rogers' salary so that they can they can get Chris Paddack here.
I knew it was some money. I didn't realize it would be that much.
That's Ken Rosenthal from The Athletic.
Good
with that.
God.
Okay. Yeah, I have a few texts out on that.
Impressive.
Haven't gotten any back, but yeah.
cheap
Rosenthal
poll ads.
beat me to that one. But yeah, that's...
That
surprises me.
So they're basically eating
Kenny before.
So they're eating almost his entire salary to get Paddack and to get Pagan in this deal. And
that also tells you how much they wanted Paddack. That this wasn't like new dialogue that just occurred after the Mets-Padres talks broke down. It's not like the Twins first engaged San Diego 3 or 4 days ago. Their interest in Paddack goes back some time.
Yeah. And then for those of you, thank you guys for, we don't usually go live on Mackey and Judd unless there is some sort of fun breaking news, and there is on this opening day. Not opening day for the Twins, but the Twins complete the big trade. So if you are watching right now on the Score North YouTube channel, click that subscribe button and click the like button so we can spread the word about this community of Minnesota sports fans that you guys are helping us
Here's
build
how
here.
dumb I am. I've always thought this was live. Like, this is breaking news to me that, like, for the first time we're doing this live.
We tape as live.
Well,
basically.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
plausibly live.
Heck, our radio background, my TV background, I don't know what the heck taping is, right?
You should
Everything is
always
live
assume it's a hot mic. Always assume you're live and your career is on the line.
And water.
And thanks to Federated Insurance also for keeping the lights on here over the years at Score North and on Mackey and Judd. They have been just a wonderful partner for so many business owners in and around and outside the state of Minnesota. They focus on a specialized group of industries, and you can find a list at federatedinsurance.com. And they're not just trying to sell as many policies as possible. They are there with specialized interest and knowledge in various industries. So if you're not familiar, federatedinsurance.com. They can help elevate your business and protect against risk. And remember, at Federated, it's our business to protect yours. All right, Dukes, what do you got? Wolves, rapid fire scoops, hit us up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so Greg Monroe is back for the rest of the season. The Wolves finally making a move is not surprising with that open roster spot. Now, I'll admit, I thought they would convert Nathan Knight from a two-way to a standard deal, so he would be postseason eligible. I thought that because I thought Utah would keep Greg Monroe for the rest of the season. So here's how things went down. So last night, Utah plays. Trent Forrest, a good player, but he's on a two-way for Utah, ends up getting hurt. We don't know the severity yet of the Trent Forrest injury, but Utah then circles back and says, hey, can we get Greg for the rest of the season? And they did want Greg for the rest of the regular season, but at that point, the deal was already agreed to. Greg had agreed to a deal to come back here prior to the Trent Forrest injury. So he is back, and you think about the possibility of matching up with either Phoenix or Memphis in the first round. You can use another big body. Now, Memphis's guards rebound at a high rate, and they turn you over. They get in transition. That's how Memphis is really good. But Memphis is also good on the offensive glass. Phoenix has those three big bodies they can throw at you: Ayton, Biyombo, JaVale McGee. So like another big body always made sense to me looking at the playoff possibilities. I just wasn't sure that it would be Monroe because I did think, because Utah could have just signed Monroe for the rest of the year. Once he went out there, I thought, shoot. But good. Like, this is a move that should have been made weeks ago. The Monroe camp had been in contact with Sachin Gupta going back many weeks. The vibe was the Wolves thought, to me, moronically, but they thought that Taurean Prince could hit these incentives. And if he did, that would have put the Wolves over the luxury tax if they had signed Greg Monroe for the rest of the year. So could you imagine if you're Sachin Gupta making that phone call to Glenn Taylor and saying, hey, Glenn, we are $20 over the luxury tax because Taurean Prince hit this 3-point incentive or this defensive rating incentive. You don't get a piece of the $9 million luxury tax pie. That's what it'll be. Roughly $9 million for the Wolves and other teams that aren't over the luxury tax. That's the highest number of luxury tax pie money since the luxury tax came into play. So, like, could you imagine if you're Sachin Gupta trying to retain his job? Which there are still some question marks about that. We don't know if Sachin Gupta will be the main decision maker here 3-4 months from now. But, like, could you imagine if you're Sachin Gupta trying to retain your position, making that phone call to Glenn Taylor and saying, Glenn, sorry, you don't get that luxury tax money. So even though it was like a 0.2% chance, Sachin didn't want to roll the dice until right now when he knows with 100% certainty that Taurean Prince is not hitting those incentives.
Well, hopefully Greg Monroe can help them avoid a disaster in the play-in. All right, I'm uptight about the play-in.
Well, you should be.
Spurs are getting hot.
Like right now, I wouldn't worry about the Spurs, Judd, but like right now, as it's trending toward Wolves Clippers like it has for 2 months. Now, if Denver loses its final 2 games, if the Wolves win their final 2 games, the Wolves do jump up to 6. They have the tiebreaker over Denver. But all Denver has to do is either win tonight against Memphis, and Memphis is going to rest, at least it looks like, Dylan Brooks. Ja Morant is still out. Now, they've got a bunch of good players, so it doesn't really matter. But then Denver also plays the Lakers this weekend. Now, does LeBron come back for scoring title purposes? Maybe there's some intrigue there. But then the Wolves would have to beat, I guess where this does count, Judd, is the Spurs have been playing well. So the Wolves would have to beat the Spurs tonight and the Bulls on Sunday. So a lot would need to happen for the Wolves to avoid the play-in. But, Phil, if it's Wolves-Clippers next Tuesday or Wednesday at Target Center, like Norman Powell is now back for the Clippers. 20-something points last night. So he's officially back. Paul George is back. Like that, the way the Wolves have been playing defense and the way the Clippers make three-pointers, the Clippers are making three-pointers at a 39.5% clip since the All-Star break. Number 1 in the NBA. So like the Wolves, the Clippers take a lot of threes. They make a lot of threes. They make threes at a higher clip since the All-Star break than anyone. The way the Wolves have been playing defense, that to me is a troublesome matchup next week.
Yeah, I'll be at Target Center tonight. And I was at Target Center when Greg Monroe went off against the Celtics, too. So I will be at Target Center tonight as a member of the fan. Yeah.
You're the Greg Monroe whisperer, Declan. Mm-hmm.
Greg
Monroe whisperer.
Nice
Me and Greg Monroe.
You're
missing the Gopher game. Yeah. That's a real shame. I'll miss Gopher
Why
hockey.
Would you miss the Frozen Four? You're a hockey guy.
Oh yeah, no. I'm not the only one who booted it off their own network. I'm going to go to the Twins. I'm going to go to the Timberwolves game instead. It'll be great.
Whatever.
Enjoy.
All right. Doogie, you can find him on 5 Eyewitness News and the Scoop podcast on scorenorth.com. Inside information about your favorite Minnesota sports teams.
What games do we have today, Judd? I haven't even looked at the schedule.
There were supposed to be 9. I think there's 7 now because the Twins and Yankees-Red Sox got postponed.
Perfect. But it's a great sports viewing day. We do have some baseball. I don't even know what the matchups are. I know the Brewers-Cubs play an afternoon game.
Yeah.
Then we got the Masters. We got Gophers hockey. We got the Wolves-Spurs. So, yeah, bring it on.
The Masters on CBS.
And ESPN Plus.
And ESPN Plus. That's right. Yes.
See you, boys.
All right. See you,
Bye,
Doogie.
Dukes.
Happy Reckless Speculation Thursday.
Always.
And thanks to everyone who hung out with us live here on this this rare live Mackey and Judd edition. But we're just we got the baseball itch now. I didn't think I was going to get it, but credit to Derek Falvey for pulling me in. Did you know that of the 28 players on the roster, 9 of them have been acquired in the last 3 weeks?
Yeah.
So I mean, and they still have they've maintained enough prospect capital. So we're gonna say goodbye to the live audience here, and you can expect something else Twins related on the Mackey and Judd podcast feed and the Score North YouTube channel later on too, plus Purple Daily. So thanks for hanging out.